Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to become a Nathan Oakley 1980 channel member and keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. And one last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe, hit the bell notification icon and join button if you'd like to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Chocolate Saying, Righteous Force, Paul Hall, 10th Man, and a whole bunch of people in Discord, so welcome one and all.
Hey, good morning all.
Good morning.
Good morning. Right, I'm hoping to rattle through housekeeping relatively quickly because I've been chunking out the Tuesday show because we did a really concise and, slightly elaborated on to the point where I could get a 2 or 3 minute video for each housekeeping question, and there's only about, I think there's 2 left to be published. So in light of that, let's hopefully rattle through housekeeping relatively quickly. Any signs of a physical Earth curve edge?
Not from Apache Junction.
Nope.
Good morning and no.
Hey Chocolate, good morning. Any signs of axial rotation?
Of the Earth-based variety.
No science, no evidence, no nothing.
Any evidence of the distance to the sun?
It's over there, as Arvin would say. With no evidence.
It's dependent on the R value. Any evidence of the R value?
Are you kidding?
Are you kidding?
No
R value.
evidence of
Anybody at
R
all?
value R value of 3959 miles. Nah. Definitely not. So
That's the one on the model?
There's one in the model, for sure, but that doesn't represent reality. You have to imagine the horizon in reality is some physical geometric Earth curve edge.
oh, you have to make considerations, right?
Yeah, geometric considerations, that's right. Yeah, how are those geometric considerations getting on with your refracted light? Anyway. Geometric considerations, but the light's all bent. Love it. Black Swan.
For Nathan, if you just make enough observations, you can account for that. You just got to observe a lot. That's it. Come on, now, you know that.
The Texas sharpshooter fallacy. Yeah, I've got a video on that. Put your target around the shot group that best matches your argument. Man, that was a mouthful. Moving on. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
That question gets me down every day.
Boom, boom. Anybody at all?
There's about as much evidence of gravity as there is of Chemo's claims on 5G.
Maybe that's why the last 2 shows didn't reach an audience, because we talked about 5G. Let's conspiratard our way through that little claim. No, let's not. Where have we got to? Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics?
Not possible.
Any evidence of a self-perpetuating molten iron core at the centre of a presupposed spherical Earth?
on their model.
Kind of in their model.
In their model.
We have volcanoes, Nathan.
Sod all to do with the molten iron core. That was an Arwin line.
Yeah,
Where
but
is
how do
Arwin?
you explain the molten iron magma? What? How do you explain that?
How do I explain it? I don't. They explain it with plate tectonics. Nothing to do with the
Well,
molten
there
iron
you
core.
go.
Go on.
How do you have a plate on a ball?
I don't know. That's not my explanation.
Chocolate,
Aren't
they
plates
dish it
usually
out.
described as flat?
Chocolate, they dish it out all way, every which way.
Boom, boom.
Oh, man.
Right, last but by no means least. Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container?
Still one of my favorite ones. Impossible. They can't demonstrate it. And when they try, they bring gas pressure in a container to demonstrate gas pressure in a pipe without the top, and they don't consider the pipe a container.
Yeah, you can't apply.
Well, it makes no sense to use the words gas and pressure without without there being a container. Just makes no sense.
Yeah, it's a antecedent consequent relationship. You can't have one without the other, so you can't have gas pressure without a container. It's a necessary antecedent. The necessary antecedent.
That's like asking someone to go buy
Yep.
air freshener without a container.
One of the commenters on the video that was snipped out with exactly that question in the title said, "I went and got some gravity rims. They're wicked. I don't need a tie. I've got gravity rims."
Nice.
Why not? It's a spinning mass, right? Don't need a tyre. Why would you need it? It's spinning around. Love it. Yeah, down one at number 2 is gas pressure without a container. Because their model...
Not
Go on.
a bad number 2, if I do say so.
No, it's a good... I think it's equal to the Black Swan. It's just as good an argument. You could easily put this at number 1 and then next week replace it with the Black Swan. You know, it doesn't make any difference. They're both just as good an argument. But what I was going to say was the second law of thermodynamics cannot be applied to the heliocentric model. Now, they declare this as the second law of thermodynamics does not apply to the Earth. In reality, the second law of thermodynamics cannot be applied to the heliocentric model. That's the reality. It's a law of nature, regardless. Hey, Arwin.
Hello.
So have you?
So when Rumpus says the second law of thermodynamics doesn't apply to the Earth, he should have finished it with the Earth in our model.
Yeah, the second law of thermodynamics does not apply to the globe. Would be more accurate from him. I would say you can't apply this law of nature to your reified globe model. It doesn't work. Ergo, we're not living on your model. But ultimately speaking, they declare that it just doesn't apply to the Earth when reality would dictate that it's a law of nature and must apply. It just doesn't apply to their model.
You know what's interesting is ever since the Black Swan, actually, it's become more prevalent. It was there before, but more prevalent, and I think you'll know when I say what I mean, is they're now referring how they predict based on the model more often than they did before. And so to the average person I'm talking to, they think the globe is real, but when you talk to these people who are defending it against the Black Swan, they have to admit it's a model. The average person doesn't realize it's always been a model and still is predictive on a model, and that the geometric horizon never existed. It's a Jedi mind trick. This is so obvious right now.
Precisely. Any evidence that the moonlight is reflected sunlight?
Anthony?
What?
What is the moon again?
You want me to repeat the question, Arwin?
I
Is
didn't
that-
know that was a housekeeping question these days.
Today it is. Is there any
Oh, okay.
evidence that the moonlight is reflected sunlight?
No.
How would that work? No.
Specular
can-
reflections debunk this. And
How can it even reflect like light just like that when it's relatively in the way in between the Earth and the moon and the sun? Then how it's gonna reflect like a uniform way like that, like we see? It's. Oh wait, was this about the spectrum of the light?
Well, kind of. I mean, I like this from Anthony on account of the fact that it's one of those things that you can refer to with the childlike wonder that you get when you're a 3-year-old and you don't know anything and you haven't been poisoned yet with heliocentric nonsense. You look up at the stars, or I did this. You look up at the sky and go, "Wow, isn't that amazing?" And you don't really understand it or know what it is. Well, that's the position Anthony's in when he looks at the moon and says, "Right, let's see what it does." He's spoken to me about what he was doing about a month, maybe it was even longer ago, and his method, and I was like, yeah, it sounds like a good method. He went through the whys and wherefores of radiated heat from the thing that was going to be used, or has been used now as kind of a barrier with a hole in it. But what he's designed wouldn't radiate heat. So that was the only objection. There was another one that he discussed with me this morning about, someone suggested that he should do it when the moon's not there at all, obviously similar conditions, but just without any moon and see what result you get. But other than that, I don't think he's had any really valid objections to what he's done and what he's demonstrated. So, kudos. The reason I like it is because, like I say, not only is it approaching something that debunks the assertion that we've got a reflected, heated, moon that's giving you reflected sunlight, it debunks that notion. Not that you need it. Specular reflections does that anyway, but it's more to the same arsenal. It's no harm in having an extra grenade launcher, and it also looks at an aspect of your day-to-day life. You can go out each night and look at the moon potentially, depending on where it is, and what phase it's in. But you know what I mean. It's part of your general life, the moon. And your understanding of it as a globetard is fundamentally broken by this. And it's something that you can feel, something that you can experience. It's very tangible. So I like it. I think it's cool.
Right. Yeah. Concerning, by the way, the infrared type of approach to see whether the moonlight is colder and all that, a way to approach it even better is wait for a good evening where it's very clear sky, but there's still like thick clouds somewhere, and then wait for a moment, put on the infrared view, and wait for a moment where first the moon is basically radiating everything, you see the color, and then wait until the clouds go in front of it, and that the cloud has to be substantial because then it has to block it for long enough to then see how the entire temperature will change after a while.
Of interest.
That would be the most direct way to see it.
You know where infrared sits on the spectrum? Out of interest? It's just above microwaves.
Sorry?
Infrared, just above microwaves. Just saying.
Above microwaves?
Yeah.
I thought microwaves were on the other spectrum. That was more above.
No. Lower.
Lower. Okay,
Yeah.
right.
Lower than the visible spectrum. Infrared's just below the visible spectrum, so it sits between microwave and visible.
I've got something else that Anthony can do that I did with my laser thermometer. I actually pointed it at the moon, and it did show it showed a cooler temperature by just shooting my laser thermometer at the moon. Wonder if that would do anything.
Yeah.
I don't. I have no idea what it is, so that's a bit of a loaded question, Paul. You want me to presuppose it's physical?
No. Well, you can at least see the temperature variation. That's all I'm driving at. So that's what I'm saying. I pointed at the regular sky, and it was one temperature. And then I pointed at the moon, it was a slightly cooler temperature. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we can see what would be described as an effect, though. Yeah, but what is it that you're actually testing? If you point, I'm not trying to. It's not a gotcha. I'm asking like as an open-ended question. What is it exactly that you're looking at, or pointing the laser at in this case?
Well, the laser is a laser thermometer. Like you can point and get the temperature of a surface. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I was using to do the moon temperature test.
There it is.
When I pointed at the moon, it shows a cooler temperature. That's all I'm saying. When I
Sorry,
shot my laser at the moon.
Did you say surface before moon or after?
No, okay. The thermometer is a surface. It's a laser thermometer that measures the surface temperature of a surface. All I'm saying is I pointed it at the moon and I got a cooler temperature than when I pointed it at the sky. That's all I'm saying.
Sure, but it's working on the premise that you're pointing it at a surface.
Actually,
Right, I get it. I get it. I get what you're saying, but
actually-
this is temperature variation. That's all.
No, actually, he's just pointing it at the moon, but
Okay.
it's not. It doesn't have enough power to reach whatever distance that is.
Hey, Adam.
Afternoon, guys.
Hey, Adam.
Have you? Has
How
somebody pricked,
far?
hold on 1 second, 10th man. Has somebody pricked your ears up, Adam?
Yeah, he got me last night. I had to ring him in a drunken state when he posted it. Yeah, shout out at me. Wouldn't necessarily go as far as the best moonlight experiment I've ever seen, but certainly the most best demonstrative version I've ever seen. It's absolutely brilliant
Anthony,
for demonstrating the principle.
Anthony, if you're listening, this is coming in the form of a shit sandwich. So,
Hey, Adam, I responded to you. Did you get that?
no, I thought it was good. I did spot that it got some. Damn, I can't remember what he told me the problem was to make the joke work. You missed a card with hypothesis written on it, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't have gone there.
Pointed it out to me, and I was like, I didn't even notice. Doesn't matter. Sorry, Adam.
Just very, very interesting observation. I look forward to seeing it. For me, it just does demonstrate that it's doesn't prove anything, but it just adds that whatever is going off, the nature of this moonlight appears to be different. It's not appearing to exhibit the behavior of reflected sunlight.
It's not reflected sunlight. That's
exactly.
That's certain.
It's not demonstrating that behavior, is it? That's what this shows to me.
Yeah, exactly. And if someone was to challenge the argument and come up with a reasonable objection, and from what Anthony's told me so far, they haven't, you could just revert to specular reflections.
Right. They're very pretty, Riley. Very pretty, mate.
At least he's doing something. Hey, he's out there doing it, man. More power to you, Anthony. Me, I'm stuck in front of editing software all day.
I'm in front of sick people all day.
Yeah, I put a.
It's nice to come home and see that. It was cool. I mean, pimping on rock taps as well.
Are you at work now?
No, I'm off, mate. Thursdays, isn't it? My only chance I get to come on the debates now. So.
Nathan, I posted a picture on our. It has to do with gas pressure without a container in Masterby. Can you show it?
This air brake.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's on screen.
So when you're looking at the big buses, the diesel pushers and so forth, they use air brakes. Just look at the image and see how they have to get that air. Look at all the things there. So I wonder what the baller has to say about this. It's not like the air around the bus all of a sudden magically goes through the tubes, right? Compressor, pressurized.
I was too busy putting it on screen and squaring it up to really understand what the point you were making. Can you make your point again? I wasn't paying enough attention.
Well, when you think about the big buses, they use air brakes. The diesel pushers, we call them here. You could see this diagram, and it shows that a compressor is needed, and you need an air tank. And that's how you create the air pressure to go through the tubes to apply to the brakes. So, I mean, it couldn't be any easier than this image to show you can't have gas pressure without a container. You need it.
I see. Cool.
But I could just see a baller saying, "Oh yeah, it's the air around the bus," and then magically stops it.
So, anything on the debate that's pricked your ears of recent times, Adam? Specific subject matters, I mean.
Well, I mean, other than the Black Swan, I think it's interesting just watching them flounder, I think, more than anything. I mean, what's been noticeable is I think they're wanting to get kicked, Nathan, isn't it? Like, right, Rumpus popping in and Brando, it's almost like they've got nothing, so they'll start. Like, Ballbusters on Saturday was a good example. Just nothing, so they'll start with what they know is going to get them kicked, because that's all they've got now.
Read out a super chat. Rakia Life says, best cult. Okay, I hope you're being sarcastic. Best cult I've ever been involved in. Here is some funding. Thank you very much indeed. Really appreciate it, Rakia Life. Why is Sean still here? Sean who? Let's just have a quick scroll up through the chat. Oh, Sean Hawkins. At Nathan Oakley. Nobody has ever said that we can have gas pressure next to a vacuum without a container. You know this, but you strawman us anyway. Very dishonest of you. Nobody has ever said that we can have gas pressure next to a vacuum without a container. You can't have that, but that's your model, you moron. No, nobody would say it. It's in defiance of the second law of thermodynamics to have gas pressure next to a vacuum without a container, because the gas would fill the space. That's a natural law. People talk about the natural law. But if you're saying nobody's ever said that, let me just read it once more. Nobody has ever said that we can have gas pressure next to a vacuum. But that's the basis of your model. He's here because he argues, at least argues, albeit from a position of a complete retard, about the subject. But he's saying nobody ever says we can have gas pressure next to a vacuum. Well, while nobody might have said it, to take him literally, that is your model. We are a pressurized system. Earth has pressure, therefore pressurized. And the sky, according to the model, heliocentrism, is a vacuum. So your model says it, you complete retard. He's here to just show how stupid fundies are, I think, Rakia Life. He's doing a great job. Read Sean if you want to know how fundies behave and reason. His declaration is that nobody's saying the sky is a vacuum. Alright, welcome to Flat Earth, Sean.
Can that be said of the Black Swan and the geometric horizon? Isn't that what they're saying there? But their model has one?
Yeah, but they do that at much higher levels, which is much more amusing. So you get people like AB Science smirking and scoffing into the microphone. We don't ever see a geometric horizon. Obviously, light can refract. Oh, really? What, when you're doing geometry? You moron. But yeah, they don't get it. They don't understand also why it's being called a black swan. Because the horizon's never going to be geometric again, it gets called a black swan. All swans are white. That's the assertion. That's the Karl Popper analogy. All swans are white. Here's a black swan. Not all swans are white. All horizons are the edges of a sphere. We can calculate it with this geometric sphere edge model and tell you how much it'll block things in the distance. That's what the horizon is. It's geometric. It blocks stuff. All right. What about this non-geometric, non-physical horizon that's in the distance? Well, that's non-physical, that is. Yeah, that's our argument. That's why it's the black swan. Even your own are telling us how non-geometric it is, even though it's required by the model, clearly marked with an X labelled horizon. What, you're going to draw a donkey dick to it and call that geometry? Nope. It's the black swan, baby.
So wouldn't it be better to say, all swans are white, here's the black swan, all swans are refracted?
Some of them say things like, all swans are still white, all horizons are still geometric, showing me a white swan you've painted. It won't change the fact that we always have geometric horizons, we just can't see them.
Well, come on, Nathan. I'll be the baller since you're not on here. Because we know how refraction works. We can calculate where it is. We can calculate it because we know how refraction works. Come on, Nathan.
If you're dealing with refraction, i.e. bent lines, then you're no longer doing geometry. So that is the welcome to flat earth answer that we get off all of them, Paul.
Yeah, I've been a flat earther for a while, so I'm glad to be in the club.
Yeah, there is no rebuttal to this. The rebuttal is a relinquishment of the physical certitude their model is supposed to be claiming, i.e. that we're standing on a physical ball-shaped ball. You know what I mean? That's what it's supposed to be showing. Look how ball-shaped the ground you're standing on is. Look, it matches. This is how much your physical geometric horizon blocks the stuff in the distance. Here's your hidden value. Hidden behind the geometric horizon. Yeah, what's that? We don't see a geometric horizon. What's this one in your model then? Why are you saying buildings have been blocked by it then? What boat's going over then? None of the above, that's the answer. It only exists in a geometric model of a sphere Earth that we don't stand on. It's just a correlation with perspective, because they've hijacked it and called it Earth curve. Or they did. Earth curve is the geometric horizon and what it does, how much it blocks stuff, how much you've got hidden. That's what Earth curve is, a geometric horizon. And now they're telling us, because it's Black Swan, we don't see a geometric horizon. I love it.
So
that's why it's number one.
The curve, the curve. So we don't see the curve because it used to be called the curve. I remember that. I guess they traded that up, huh? For an apparent horizon. Welcome to flat Earth, guys.
Yeah, they traded their geometric claim of Earth curve for a refracted, non-geometric, non-physical, doesn't prove anything horizon. Precisely what we have, a non-physical, non-geometric horizon. Now, if they've got an X in their model called horizon, that's just geometric sphere edge, and that isn't the horizon, because we don't see it, they tell us all day about how we don't see it, well then it isn't a horizon. Now, if we're on a ball, we've got a geometric horizon. That's what balls give you, geometric horizons. You get people like Mr. Sensible showing you a ball and showing you how it's got a geometric horizon. And that's what you'd need if you were on a ball. Not one that only exists in a model that we never see. Because that's your claim of proof for the sphere we're standing on and its physicality. So relinquishing that geometry and physicality leaves you with a null claim.
Isn't it interesting that in their Muppet vision, they've been getting away with murder with the side angle that no one ever sees that way. And they get rid of perspective and what perspective does in the real view. But they did put an X there. And now we're using their side angle Muppet vision and say, where's that X? Not they're sorry they ever put an X there.
It doesn't make any difference. Well, I know what you're saying. You're saying in Mick West's model it's got a marked X horizon. You could change it. You could just call it something else. But it doesn't make any difference. This is geometry. It was like back in the day when they were holding us to account because Andrew Thomas Young's being referenced or cited. Who cares? He's not the arbiter of geometry. This is basic stuff.
Well, geometric considerations. He's not even saying it's real.
Yeah, he's saying it's a thought experiment.
They're saying that X is not a physical location? That's weird because I remember distinctly seeing Bill Nye's little display of what the curve of the Earth is supposed to be, and his little boat was actually going over a physical edge. I remembered that distinctly. So
to make that assertion,
all of a sudden became non-physical?
Yeah, he had to make a geometric assertion, having made geometric considerations for a non-physical location. In other words, he performed a thought experiment and then reified it and told it to his audience. So he's describing a physical edge, but it's not. It's a reification of a thought experiment. Sorry, Brian, were you trying to get a word in there? Scuffles.
Hey Nathan, yeah, sorry. Someone was talking to me there. Yeah, when they say that we never claimed to, when they say we never claimed that gas pressure doesn't need a container. They're just begging the gravity question. Because that's what they want. Like, if you ask them, well, what's your container? They're going to say the force of gravity. The force of gravity. That's what they're going to say. No, so by them saying, we never said that gas pressure needs a container, is them saying, indirectly saying, because gravity is forcing it to the earth. No, that's about it.
So, some of them have literally said gravity is the container.
They can say what they like. So when they say, we never say that gas needs a container, we don't care what you say about it. It's like when Rumpus came in and declared that what I say about it requiring a container was my belief. No, we've got natural law. You've got what you say gas needs in your model and what it doesn't need, and redefining gas as atmosphere. Atmo, air, sphere, your fundy presupposition that the earth is round. Well, those things are just what you say and believe. We counter that with laws of nature, how gas actually behaves. That's what we use for our cowbell. Oh, you say gas doesn't need a container, blah, 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 force that's not a force that you can think of. I don't care. We've got natural law. You're not going to trump natural law.
What is atmosphere made of again?
Atmo means air.
And what is air?
Gas.
Oh. Okay, so gas pressure then. That would be the same as atmospheric pressure, since atmosphere is air and air is gas. Right? Makes sense to me.
Show it's weight. Weight is the container.
How do you weigh gas again?
I'm just saying what he claims.
I know, brother.
In that
for something
example, go on, Brian.
Thanks, Dan. No, not saying much. Just to say, if for something to actually be weighed, it needs to have a linear downward force. Something that gas never has. It has a pressure exerted in all directions. Thanks, Dan.
The example that Chocolate put up the other day of the bromine or whatever gas that black and white video showed, as soon as he opened up the opening, it escaped or it filled the second container that was empty. If gas had a weight, why didn't it stay where it was when you opened that valve? Why did it have to fill the available space?
Because entropy is a natural law and will apply always. It's not being overcome by some fundamentalist zealot's religious belief in a not force that you can think of as a force that's actually the bending of pseudo-Ramonian force space, a concept, and isn't giving rise to any sort of force or action on anything ever, because it's not a force. But their assertions that they don't assert they need a container, they feel that's somehow a defence to entropy, a natural law. It isn't. It's a natural law. Not a belief, not what we say about a model. No, just a natural law. It just happens to defy your fundamentalist religious belief that the sky is a vacuum. That would be a violation of that natural law which absolutely applies always. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas would fill the space. That's what gas does.
Well, let's think about that little experiment, that little flask thing. If their logic is real or valid, then you should be able to turn the vacuum, put it towards the sky, and the gas should stay in the bottom container, right?
Yeah, I thought the same thing. Yep, if that's how gravity would work.
Gases have weight.
How do you weigh gas?
You weigh it by weighing its relative atomic mass.
Relative atomic mass. Sounds like it's relative density.
You can't weigh gas.
Yeah.
You calculate the amount of gas based on the temperature and the cubic volume and its molarity, but you don't weigh it. You can give an approximation of what you suggest its mass is, but it's not a weight. It doesn't exert a weight. because of the very nature of gas behavior.
Is it medium dependent?
Yeah. Well, the way gases
No,
are
it's
free
based
to
on the
move in all
relationship
direction.
between
Hold on, Adam. Sorry, go ahead, Babs.
carbon-12 atoms.
Say the whole statement again.
The atomic mass constant is based on the ratio of a carbon-12 atom.
Not anymore. You might want to look into that. It's changed. It changed about 18 months ago. That's not correct.
Yeah, what is it now?
You tell me, you're making this claim.
Well, that's what the claim is currently. I don't know of anything different.
It's out of date by about 18 months.
Do you have
What
cowbells
is mass?
for that claim?
I'm not making a claim about carbon, am I? Have I mentioned carbon? Anybody? Anybody? Am I making claims about carbon C12? Anybody? Anybody at all? Nope. Doesn't seem like I'm making a claim about carbon C12, my friend. No offence, Babs. I'm not going to back your claim. I don't want to get into what the new definition is. I could, but I'm not making a claim. Why would I have to do that?
Well, you're brushing off my claim by saying that there's another current claim that disproves what I'm saying right now.
Sure, if that was the definition, surely it would be just, that's it. A bit like natural laws that apply always and are inviolable. They never change. I mean, they're natural laws. But yet this definition's definitely changed. Now, you can say, well, prove it's changed. Well, you know, people will definitely point it out if I'm wrong about this, I assure you. But if it's changing, doesn't that make it kind of arbitrary? I'm just saying.
Whether it's changed or not doesn't change the fact that gases have mass. Are you denying that fact?
What's
Define mass?
Oh, took the words out of my mouth. Perfect timing, QE. What's mass again?
The amount of matter in a given object.
That was
the amount. Go ahead.
Yeah, the total amount of matter in a given object.
The total amount of substance or matter in a given object, correct? You said that's mass?
Correct.
The Royal Society of Chemistry. Moreover, studies have shown that the amount of substance is often incorrectly identified with mass. And the new definition is Avogadro's number of elementary entities, not carbon-12. So you need to get up to date with the flat earth debate. You and about 20,000 other people.
Right.
You good?
So
you squared up now?
The new definition is based on Avogadro's constant.
Oh, God.
Is what you're saying?
The latest, yeah, go research it. Okay? I just gave it to you.
All right.
Where are you at? You in Discord? Are you in Discord?
Yeah, I'm in Discord.
Okay. I will give you the citations, right? I'll do half your work for you so we can move on because you're not going to be able to recover. Okay? So don't even try.
All right. If you say so.
I say so. I showed so. And I'll put the citations in live stream. Give me 1 second. Have you heard the latest flat or globe Earth proof?
No. What is this?
No.
It's from MC Goon, the retard. So he wheels out Jesse Kozlowski's. I drug him around about 4 years ago. I don't even know where he is. I haven't heard from him. But he drug out Jesse Kozlowski's theodolite. He put one theodolite on one side of the lake and another theodolite on the other side of the lake. I don't know how far it was. It really doesn't matter. And said the earth was curved because they weren't level. Because if the earth was flat, then they'd be level. You know, you'd see right into the aperture, right? That's the new one. Have you ever heard of angular size change? Have you ever heard that before, MC Goon?
No, they haven't. No. They've replaced it with what they call Earth curve inside profile. But when things drop towards the horizon, I've seen that video. It's quite old. So, yeah, he's got two lanterns, one on each side. He shows one. He's at an altitude of about 300 or 400 feet, something like that. And he shows that one has dropped towards the horizon. Shock horror. That's perspective.
You want to know the real scary part was none of the flat earthers had anything to say about it. They were too interested in talking about flat is level for 2.5 hours. So just let him whistle past that. Unbelievable. We won't get into any names. We know who we're talking about, don't we?
Go on, was that Brian? Who was it? Who was just talking? Go ahead.
Yeah, it was me, Nathan. Yeah, I actually approached Jesse Kozłowski about this, and I told him what was going on. I said I actually spent 4 or 5 days of him not wanting to admit that he wasn't taking angular size change into account. This is about a year and a half ago, maybe more, maybe 2 years ago, whatever it was, and as well as that he wasn't taking center frame into account. As when something moves away from you or you move away from it, what happens is that because of angular size change, it drops its position in your center frame. So across the lake, the other theodolite was lower than his center frame in the theodolite he was looking in because of angular size change and because of distance. I've proven just on the kitchen table that you can move something that's higher than the center frame of a lens. When you move it away from the lens or the lens away from it, it'll drop lower than the center frame. But that's across a flat table.
You know who else covered this video when it first came out? I'm sure others covered it, but you know, somebody who covered it pretty much straight away was Jeranism, and he did his response video, and I remember absolutely bursting out laughing at a particular point in the video, because what he did was he edited Jesse's explanation of what was happening with the lantern on the other side of the lake and starts to say it's dropping because of. Now his next word in the original video was because the Earth's curved, etc, etc, etc. But the way Jaron edited the video was to cut off his last word and put on a black screen in massive white letters, perspective. You know, he said it as it came up. I just remember seeing that. I'm thinking, what a great way of editing it to make your point really clear. You know, it's dropping because it's getting smaller, therefore closer to the horizon. Obviously, that's perspective, but he's calling it Earth curve. And this was way before we got into angle of attack and all this sort of stuff. And I remember a year later, maybe even 18 months later, talking to Jaron and saying, well, you got all this angle attack stuff way before everyone else. He's like, did I? I was like, yeah, remember when you talked about Jesse Kozłowski? And he scratched his head, he couldn't even remember making the video. It's really just weird how these things, you know, you recognise it in the moment, but you don't necessarily process how it undoes their argument. You know, you move fast forward, 18 months or 12 months at the time from that point, and we were into debunking the begging the question proof and I think perspective hijacking curve calculator for its side elevation and its use of perspective to call Earth curve. But like I say, when I was pointing that out to Jaron, he couldn't even remember making the video. That gives you an idea of how old this video is.
Nathan, how is that even possible to do that theodolite test with atmosphere?
Well, I mean, in terms of him drawing his straight lines.
No, they're saying we can't see the geometric horizon because of the atmosphere. And if we were, we would see the Earth curve right where the X is. Now he's showing theodolite with a curve.
He's up. Hold on, just to nip this in the bud. No, he's up at 300 feet on both sides from memory. That's a very vague figure. Maybe it was 350, maybe it was 200. It doesn't matter. But he's not on the shore. So he's not looking at the horizon. He's looking at another lantern, another piece of equipment on the other side.
Yeah, but 10's point still stands.
I'm going to get there.
It should be refracted. In this photo, he's not at 300 feet. He's on a lake. So at 10's point, it stands because, well, wouldn't that be refracted also?
Yes, I was going to get there. Correct. By their standards, everything's being refracted. Therefore, no straight lines at all. Therefore, none of these triangles are going to be drawn. None of these straight lines are going to be drawn to make the comparison in the first instance. So, yes, your point is still valid. You're absolutely right, Quantum Eraser. Yes, good point, 10th man.
Yeah, I heard lake, but like the 300-foot one, that would be refracted too, right?
All of it, always, according to them.
They forget about that. with their train wreck retard proofs, right? They always forget about the necessary contingent facts of the argument you just argued 5 seconds ago. Why? Well, because of fluoride and power lines, to name a few.
Don't forget 5G.
No, not 5G. And another one, we had another guy, I'm keeping names to protect the guilty, talking about the black swan, right? He's right on point talking about the horizon, right? But then some retard crayon muncher comes in and gets into the crane refraction, which goes on for 45 minutes about what a mirage is with the cranes on the oil platforms, right? You know, I just don't know what to say. How many times I got to tell you guys, right? I don't know what to do. I really don't.
Want me to try?
I think when you put your modus tollens, you said every horizon distance.
1 second, 10th man. Let me just have a go. I'm going to pander to them. I haven't done this to date. What you have said to date is your argument is the horizon. It's not about the bloody oil platforms. Who cares what the oil platforms do? They just show us how far the horizon is. That's their only use in our argument. Now, that's what's been said many times. So I'm just reiterating it so Quantum Race doesn't think I'm brushing past his actual point that he said at nausea. But I'm going to pander to them. So the light that's reaching us from the oil platforms is refracted, you say? So bent lines to this oil platform. And ultimately the horizon in the argument. Right, so not geometric then, no straight lines then. That should be your response. If you're going to get into the weeds at all about these stupid oil platforms, because they're only giving us the distance, that's their only use, then you're clarifying the argument that we've not got any geometry. So refracted, yeah, okay, so not geometric then. Jolly good.
I got a new one for you. Terrestrial refraction is caused by gravity, the bending of space-time. It can do it. It can bend the space in order to make things are.
Yeah, that's actually what they claim.
Really?
Well,
they say that the bending of space-time, gravity, is an effect that causes terrestrial refraction, the curving around of light.
Well, no, they don't directly say that, but yeah, they've got us sat in a gravity well in the bending conceptual medium that is pseudo-Riemannian length, breadth, depth, and time. And we've simultaneously got light bending around at the radius value that's being dictated by the gravitational forces that give us our sphere shaped in their bullshit origin story.
Huh. Right, so it's only a matter of time before they connect these virtual dots.
You took the words out of my mouth. While it's not overtly pointed out in that connection now, I'm sure at some point someone will.
I called it. Arwin 2020.
Arwin 2020. You reckon that they'll link the bending of the light in terrestrial refraction at 7/6 of the given radius value will be assigned some connection with the bending of space-time? That's your prediction.
Right. Well, if gravity is an effect of the bending of space-time, then who knows what else the space-time may affect? You know, it is reasoned out that if gravity is strong enough, it'll bend light, you know, with black holes, blah, blah, blah. Well, by that reasoning, they could argue in some way. It probably won't really work out mathematically once you really try to do that. But they'll work out some way in how gravity then can, on a more gradual scale, bend light to make everything look perfectly flat, even though it's a globe. You know? Why not?
Yeah, why not?
I've heard that argument already.
It's a model, you do it like.
That before.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying I've heard certain people try to use that. So it's not like a brand new thought. I've heard that argument that gravity actually is bending light, causing refraction. So that's not new.
Fair enough. There you go.
I came up with it in '97 for the first time and then forgot about it.
Nothing new under the sun, whatever that is.
Another thing they try to. Sorry, Dan. Go on.
No, I was saying earlier that if you read the modus tollens the way QE wrote it, it says every horizon distance. He wasn't saying every platform.
Every platform. Oh, I see. Yes, it's the modus tollens argument is every distance to horizon measurement must be no more than 1.2 times the square root of the observer's height in the feet. Well, that's nothing to do with bloody oil platforms now, is it? But we'd need to know the distance. Oh, how would we know the distance to the horizon in this example? Let me think. Oh, we've got some oil platforms that tell us how far the horizon is. Oh, what's that? The oil platforms are on fire? Or the oil platforms are suddenly a different colour? It's a shit. It's nothing to do with the argument. They're just giving us the distance to horizon. That's all they're there for. And if you want to say, well, look, but they're refracted. Oh, right, so how are you going to do your geometry then?
Well, if you look at Master B, I went to a site here in California. It's called the bsee.gov. And it shows from the measurement of where they took the measurement, not exactly where BLMSB 69 did his, but from where they measure, you could see that platform habitat, according to the official government record, distance to land, 7.8 miles. So how do you refract that geometry?
Don't. It's a contradiction in terms. Got Rumpus in the chat saying, well, in geometry there's curves. Yeah, you're drawing a tangent to a curve in geometry, and that's useful if you're going to presuppose that the tangent point is going to be on a curved surface that you presuppose as a spherical Earth with an R value. So yeah, we've got curves in geometry. Your presupposed curved Earth in this instance, and its geometric horizon. Well, we don't have one of those. So bye-bye, globe geometry. Welcome to Flat Earth. Anyway, shout out to Cleary. He says, Jay Toland Meader mentioned space-time in his video. Lol. I don't know what the reference is, but thank you very much indeed for the super chat, Cleary.
Another thing they like to use as proof of the globe is visual occultation, where the person taking the observation or looking, whichever, is at the same height or lower than a foreground object, and there's a bigger background object that has shrunken in size due to angular size change. But because the person that's taking the observation is at the same height or lower than the foreground object, the background object seems to dip down below in the background. Now, if you have a big object and a smaller object, and you put your camera lens below the smaller object that's in front of the bigger object, and you can bring it down, your camera lens lower, the lower you bring your camera lens, the lower the background object will appear to dip. And the higher up you bring a camera lens, the higher up the background object will appear to rise. And they're just using visual occultation. I mean, most of Miles Davis's stuff is based on visual occultation.
Yeah.
And obviously a lack of understanding of the whole thing.
Called foreshortening. The term is foreshortening.
Yes, I heard you say.
Yeah, all optical effects.
Oh.
Well, these are all optical effects that have been hijacked. So when they figured out how to hijack these optical effects, perspective is the all-encompassing description of all of them. And they've just turned it on its side in a very literal way and called it Earth curve. All effects have been accounted for in that single assertion. You know, they've worked it out very carefully, but that means that there's only one assertion from the Earth curve calculator. Earth curve. So all the other effects, they just make it to a list of things that flat earthers say cause things to disappear bottom up. You're like, well, those things do cause things to disappear into the distance, bottom up, depending on how far they are, and you can account for them with optics. But the only assertion in the Earth curve calculator is that Earth curve's got in the way. Well, then you need Earth curve getting in the way, because that's the single assertion the Earth curve calculator makes. And as soon as you show a black swan image that demonstrates you haven't got a geometric, physical Earth curve edge as a horizon, then you haven't got any geometry to make any assertions that it's a physical Earth curve edge blocking things. Hence, the model's debunked by the black swan.
Well, we know now that, like, we never see any of that because, as they say, everything is refracted up into the horizontal all the time. So we wouldn't see any of that anyway.
Where's Bev when you need him? About zeniths and 90-degree angles and horizontal.
Has the actual distance between Europe and America across the Atlantic Ocean ever changed? The actual distance?
I doubt it, but they do claim that the plates are moving in their rhetoric.
Well, you could start at, I mean, the shortest distance from coast to coast, let's say, is, I just typed it in, it's like 1,600 miles, but from other points, it's over 2,000, I think. But given the fact that you're at a certain point on the geography to the other point, those distances haven't changed unless the continents move, right?
Well, like I say, if I can dig out one of their rhetorical maps that show a time lapse of from Pangaea to current day, then I could literally show you those continents moving in a time lapse with a bullshit timeline attached. I'm not saying that's true, but I'm just saying that's a contrary point to what you're about to make.
Well, my point is that, fine, until that happens, but until that happens, Catalina Island is either 26 miles off the coast of California if you come from a more southerly route, or 24 miles if you come directly across from land. That hasn't changed for ages. It's in all the navigation books, how far it is. It's not going to move. That's the distance. So every horizon distance at a 1 foot observer height must be where it should be.
I see. Well, by comparison, while they might have a rhetoric about plate movement, the R value would be set in literal stone. So in the same way as your ball in front of a camera is going to have a geometric horizon regardless of what you do. Well, the same principle would always apply to a ball Earth if it was a ball. We would have to have a geometric horizon. It'd be mandated by its balliness, given to us by R.
Right, which conjured a nice image when you were saying that of a balloon fully inflated to where it's almost popping, would have a bigger circumference. But if it had less air, it'd have a smaller circumference. And if it was deflating over time, it would even have a smaller circumference. But the Earth isn't doing that.
Exactly. The Earth isn't a balloon. You can't change the R value. And with that, I'll say a huge, massive, enormous thank you to both Discord and G Plus panels. If you are watching this on the Nathan Oakley premiering stream, then stay tuned, as there will be an after show to follow. Unfortunately, if you are watching this live on Nathan Oakley 1980, this is where I bid you farewell. Another massive thank you to Discord and G Plus. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!